Transcendence tells the story of Will and Evelyn Castor, who are involved in scientific and technological research, and when Will Castor is shot dead, they ultimately upload his consciousness onto a computer. And the film, through this story, explores the themes of technology in our world today. Technology as both a blessing and a curse, and how technology in the wrong hands, of course, could mean our own destruction, but at the same time, technology in the right hands could mean our evolution. And there's a particular dialogue in the beginning of the film where they say that the internet was actually created to make the world a smaller place, but the world without the internet in fact feels a lot smaller. And all of these relevant themes with regards to technology in general, and even to a certain extent about how technology is currently used by the government to kind of breach personal barriers, were addressed, and they were addressed well, but unfortunately these messages and themes were shrouded by what I would describe as an almost forced love story. Especially towards the beginning of the film, while I was definitely curious and involved and interested in what was going on, the unfortunate bit is I never really felt connected. They never established the characters all that much, though you understand their motives to a certain extent through what I might describe as a futuristic TED Talk, but really, you never understand the characters as people or any bit about their backstory, and you never really feel connected to their motivation. You know what their motivation is, you know and are aware of its existence, but there's no real connective tissue to it, and there's no why that is ever asked in this film. The film just presents a lot to you without ever actually telling you why certain things are happening, but they just do. And since you haven't understood the characters well enough, some of their actions throughout the film, despite knowing what their motivations are, don't entirely feel fleshed out. Furthermore, this film has a genuine lack of energy. Now, I don't need to necessarily see every film as a film with massive action scenes or anything like that, but really, there has to be some kind of feeling that there was a great degree of effort put in by everyone on this production, and I think the genuine lack of energy kind of goes against that. Nonetheless, I still have to credit Wally Pfister. As a first-time director especially, he did a very good job of handling the scope and scale of the film, and did a good job handling the visual elements of the film considering he's an ex-cinematographer, but I don't think he ended up working or focusing as much on these characters well enough in the film. And most of the scenes in the first act are relatively short. I mean, in terms of length alone, I'm not sure whether this is due to the writing or due to the editing, but you never really feel invested in any particular scene because the first act especially is so focused on exposition that it kind of loses sight of the characters that you're going to be going on this extensive journey with, a journey in which you have to continuously suspend disbelief, which I certainly do not mind doing, but towards the third act of the film, there are certain turns which don't exactly work in tandem with the world that was created in the first two acts of the film. From a performance perspective, all around, I thought the performances were great in the film, especially Rebecca Hall's and her character in the film, along with Will Castor's character. They definitely had good intentions, but some of the actions that they undertake in the film really don't have any repercussions, and I must say that they are extremely negative actions, like stealing and all of these petty things in order to set up the main plot are almost kind of brushed through, which I found unfortunate because they really make your main characters a little less likable. In fact, ultimately, I kind of sided with the organization against Transcendence, that is Rift. Rift is an organization that is pretty much against this new technological innovation and the genuine progression of technology in today's day and age, because they realize that in the wrong hands, technology can have the worst repercussions possible, and I was actually on their side for a large portion of the film. To me, it came across as rather strange, and I have to say that I was actually more on their side because I do fear the extent of technology, but at the same time, I almost went against the main characters by siding with Rift. And by the end of it, you're so confused when these two parties actually collide that you don't exactly know who to root for and who to really look to and who you want to succeed out of all of this. It's a little bit convoluted in that sense, and when nanotechnology is introduced, it gets far more convoluted. Furthermore, the end of this film, especially towards the last couple of minutes, they use certain amounts of technology and they do certain things which almost negate what happens in an earlier scene, and at the same time, you feel that it's done so as to allow the love story to take the forefront and to take precedence over anything else that the film is set up, which I find a little unfortunate. Nonetheless, Transcendence is an intriguing film. It's a film that definitely makes a lot of interesting statements about the world we live in, but at the same time never really focuses on them well enough and is shrouded by a love story that I thought was well executed to a certain extent, but beyond a point got a little bit strange, and I'm going to give Transcendence a no.